It's 9:18 p.m. on a Wednesday. You're on the left side of the couch, the side you always sit on, with the takeout container still on the floor and your phone face down because you're trying to be a person tonight. You scroll Netflix for maybe 40 seconds. You don't see a single thing you want. So you do the thing. You open the same show. Click the same episode. Season 2, Episode 4. The one with the cold open you can recite in your sleep. And your whole body sighs. If you know exactly what I'm talking about, this one's going to make you feel ridiculously seen. Here's what nobody tells you about the rewatch. You're not avoiding new things. You're not stuck. You're not failing to grow. You're regulating. There's actually a name for this in the research. Christelle Russell and Sidney Levy, in a 2012 paper in the Journal of Consumer Research, called it reconsumption, the deliberate return to a story whose ending you already know. They argued it isn't a failure of curiosity. It's one of the oldest forms of self-care humans have. We've been retelling the same myths around fires for 40,000 years. The streaming service didn't invent this. It just made it billable. Translation: your brain isn't broken. It's been doing this since we've had brains. Here's where it gets interesting. There are at least 4 things happening when you queue up that episode for the 40th time, and none of them are what your roommate thinks. Start with the work of Jay Derrick and her team at the University at Buffalo. They ran a series of studies and found something fascinating. When people feel rejected, lonely, or socially depleted, watching a favorite show actually restores feelings of belonging. Not as a placebo, measurably. They named it the social surrogacy hypothesis. The effect was strongest when people were already running empty. Translation: when you put on The Office at 11 p.m. on a Sunday, your nervous system isn't seeing actors. It's seeing a room of people who never cancel, never get weird, and never make you small talk through your exhaustion. Your brain logs them as your people. Wild, right? Then there's predictive processing. Your brain, at its core, is a prediction machine. Every waking second, it's running quiet guesses about what comes next, what that pause in the meeting meant, whether the email's bad, why your friend's text felt slightly off. When the prediction matches reality, you get a small reward. When it doesn't, your stress system fires. New shows force your brain into high-alert pattern finding. Familiar shows let it coast on rails it already laid down. After a day of being wrong about everything, predictability isn't a luxury, it's medicine. It's why a Monday morning, before you've had coffee, before the inbox has even finished loading, you'll put on the same opening credits while you make breakfast. The theme song hits, and your shoulders drop 2 centimeters. You couldn't have explained why if someone asked. You don't have to. Your nervous system just took its first steady breath of the day. Then the mere exposure effect. Robert Zients demonstrated decades ago that humans develop preference for things simply through repeated exposure. We don't just tolerate the familiar, we actively seek it, sometimes against our better judgment. There's an evolutionary reason. For most of human history, what was familiar was what hadn't killed you yet. So your nervous system filed it under safe and ran with it. The dialogue you've memorized isn't boring you. It's reading as low threat to a body that spent the day on threat detection. There's a reason your grandmother watched the same 3 news anchors for 40 years. The face you've seen 10,000 times reads as kin to a brain that learned faces before language. The episode is doing the same thing a weighted blanket does, just for your attention instead of your shoulders. And finally, what researchers studying attention call cognitive load reduction, but I call it the Goldilocks zone of attention. New content takes all of you. Phone down, eyes locked, brain processing every plot beat. Familiar content gives you a frame to be a person inside. You can fold laundry, cry during the part that always gets you, reach for water and not lose the thread. You can pause it for a phone call and pick it up an hour later without rewinding because the script is already living in your bones. Old shows aren't filling your time. They're holding something steady while you handle everything that isn't. Now think about when you actually reach for the rewatch. It's almost never on a calm Saturday at 2 p.m. when life is fine. It's after the meeting that didn't go your way, after the conversation with your mother that ended weird, after the date that went well, which is somehow more destabilizing than the ones that don't. Notice how it's specific shows, too. There's one for grief, one for the Sunday dread, one for the flu, one for the airport hotel in a city you don't know, one for the morning after a fight you didn't sleep through, one for being 23 again for 42 minutes. You're not watching shows, you're prescribing them. Or this one. You're on a flight, somewhere over Kansas. The seatbelt sign is on, the kid behind you is kicking your seat in steady 4/4 time, and you're 3 episodes into the same season you watched on the way out. You're not bored. You're regulating at 30,000 feet, the one place a body shouldn't logically be calm, and you're calm anyway, because the show came with you. The familiar travels in a way new things can't. And here's the part you can't explain without sounding unhinged. I've seen Parks and Rec 12 times. I've had Friends going in the background for 9 years. I rewatch Fellowship every January. Yeah, that. Think about the last time someone asked, "How can you watch that again?" And you just shrugged. You weren't being inarticulate. You were doing something their nervous system might not need, but yours absolutely does. They go to new for stimulation. You go to old for repair. Neither one's wrong. They're different jobs. It's a Sunday at 6 p.m. You haven't done anything wrong. The week ahead is fine on paper, but there's a specific dread climbing your ribs, and you don't have the words for it yet. So you press play on episode 1. Again. And it's not avoidance, it's tuning. By the time the theme song ends, your shoulders have come down half an inch, and you didn't notice them go up. Now, the version worth naming honestly. There's a difference between a comfort show being a port you visit and a comfort show being the only address your nervous system knows. When you'd reach for the same 6 episodes before reaching for a person who'd actually pick up, when the rewatch stops restoring you and starts being the only place you exist. The trait isn't the problem, the exclusivity is. Comfort shows are a port. Every ship needs one. But a port that becomes a permanent address starts to feel less like rest and more like running aground. Worth noticing, never worth shaming. The same tool that saves you on a hard Tuesday can quietly hold you in place across a hard year, and your nervous system won't tell you which one's happening. You have to ask. That's the difference between using the tool and being used by it. Here's the image I want to leave you with. Piano tuners carry a small steel tuning fork in a pocket. It's been calibrated to the same frequency for over a century. A above middle C is 440 Hertz. They don't argue with it, they don't update it, they don't replace it with something newer or sharper or more interesting. They strike it against their knee, hold it to the soundboard, and listen for the exact moment when the rest of the instrument comes back into alignment with that one small, steady note. The fork doesn't make the music wouldn't be possible without it. Your comfort show is your tuning fork, not the song, the reference. The pitch your nervous system uses to bring the rest of you back into key after a day spent slightly, quietly out of tune. You're not stuck on rerun, you're tuning. So tell me in the comments, what's your tuning fork show? The one whose rewatch count would actually embarrass you. The one playing in another tab right now. I'll be reading. If this hit home for you, please subscribe. And if you want to support these deep dives, hit that join button to become a channel member. I would genuinely appreciate your support.